reaction from politicians later in the programme, but at the same time, it's no exaggeration to say that the markets have leapt at the Chancellor's speech. At the close, the index of 100 leading shares was up by a record 372 points, or 9.8%, the biggest ever one-day gain. A short time ago, the pound was up against the dollar by more than 2 cents, but sterling was down against the euro by nearly a cent. Well, now this battle against a recession isn't being fought on the fields or on the beaches, but in the shopping malls across the UK. Our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, is live at one of the country's biggest, Merry Hill, near Dudley, in the Black Country. Alex.
Yes, thanks, John. This shopping centre opened in the late 80s on the site of an old steelworks. Tells its own story. Came of age during the last recession, during the early 90s. Now all across the Black Country, smoking chimneys, once the engine of the British economy. But in modern Britain, the Chancellor has turned in part to shops like these, which have replaced them to try and jumpstart the economy. There are 220 major stores just here alone, and we're better, therefore, to assess whether consumers can or even want to spend us out of recession. Well, with me, first of all, pensioner Patricia Bowser. Welcome, Patricia. As I say, you're a pensioner, but you work 2 days a week, don't you?
Yes.
In terms of what the Chancellor has done today, the VAT cut and the pension changes, of course, has he done enough?
Well, I don't think he's done anything, really. I would have liked to, instead of a blanket 2.5% reduction, to say remove VAT completely from gas and electricity, and it would have helped all of us. We would have had money in our pockets to spend then, whereas now we have nothing.
That's what's happening. Council tax too, I know you're worried about.
Very high, yes, yes. And even though you've worked, you've paid your mortgage and completed it, you still have a large bill for the council tax.
So putting the two things in, the VAT cut and the increases in pension, not enough for you. He's done nothing, as you put it.
Nothing at all, no. I still work, I support myself. So, you know, I would like help with tax relief too. And because I get a small pension and I work, I pay a lot of tax.
And you have to work to pay the bills,
I
make ends meet?
yeah. I couldn't have a lifestyle without it. I couldn't manage on a state pension. But you get a state pension and that takes all your free pay for your income tax anyway.
Right, well, Bob Hammond, Bob, you were working for a computer company, Fujitsu. You're now unemployed, or surely going to be so commiserations. Anything you've heard today that makes that situation any easier at all?
Well, obviously it'd be help to get 500,000 people back into work with the 20 major employers. But I think that hasn't probably gone anywhere near as far as they should go. I think they need to put more funding into retraining and reskilling to get people back into different industries.
There is more money for that today, but also I presume in your situation you've got a mortgage.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Some changes there. Does that ease the pain in any way and make no difference?
I can't say it's made a lot of difference, no. Not at all, not to the way the mortgage market is at the moment.
And in terms of measures to get people back into retraining and new employment, anything that's shifted today that makes your outlook any less bleak, any different?
Well, I haven't looked into it in great detail yet, but I can't say just from the brief overview of that, but there is anything that's going to make a major difference. I mean, the job market is out there, but there's a lot of people looking for jobs, and they're predicting it going up to over 3 million. So 500,000 really is dropping the ocean.
Right, and briefly, the VAT cut, 2.5%, you're not going to come in here and spend,
I don't think anybody's been made redundant is going to go out spending. Obviously, whatever money they get, they've got to look after and to keep themselves going for the next.
Okay, well, sadly we'll have to leave it there. Bob Hammond, Patricia Bowser, thank you both very much for being with us. That's it for now from the retail front line, you might say, here in Dudley. We'll be back a little later on. Back to you for now in London.
Thank you, Alex. We're joined now by the Director of the Institute for Fiscal Studies, Robert Choate, Chief Executive of the Work Foundation, Will Hutton, and the award-winning British entrepreneur, James Kahn. Let me get from each of you a top-of-the-head reaction today, because it is just a day with no president. Robert.
Well, we're basically losing 4% of national output that we're not going to get back during the course of this recession. And that explains why the public finances are in such bad shape, and why, despite the fact that you'll be squeezing public spending and increasing taxes, the public finances really still aren't back into good shape, even 5 years down the line.
Will Hutton.
Well, this is a big moment in post-war British economic history. It's one of the kind of major budgets. You have to go back 20 years to when Nigel Lawson cut the top rate of tax to 40p in the pound from 60p in the pound to get something as bold as this. And for my money, kind of rising to the seriousness of the occasion. I mean, sure, there are risks, and I think he could have done more to mitigate the risks, particularly in the banking sector. But this is pretty good, and I think it'll put a floor under the economy.
James Cohen, you have to do business in it.
I do, and I think this is a very positive position for government. I think I've interpreted this as a leadership decision. They're not following, they're leading. I think this is bold, I think this is aggressive. I fully understand you have to borrow the money in order to do this, but I think